Chapter 34, Dramatics. Not long after I got into the hole, I got into a fight with my cellmate, a Crip from LA. He would get paid to sing oldie but goodie love songs through the bars every night for other convicts in the cell block, and it was making me frustrated. I didn't like soul music. I was a go-go and hip-hop fanatic. Before I left the street, all I listened to was Rare Essence, KRS-One, Rakim, EPMD, Heavy D, 2 Live Crew, NWA, etc. Most people outside of DC had never heard of go-go, but hip-hop was just really taking off, and the guys that grew up on soul hated it. But I hated soul and R&B, so it was a clash waiting to happen. Even in the hole, we could still hear explosions from the bird banger. He was on the bottom bunk, and I would have to listen to his bass-heavy voice vibrate in the top bunk while he belched out his tunes. His voice would reverberate down the walkway and into other convict cells from the top tier to the bottom, while they reminisced about the streets or wrote love letters to their damsels in distress. I got tired of hearing it. He was an obese 35-year-old, 6'3" and around 400 pounds. This night he was sitting on the bottom bunk singing the 1971 hit song by the Dramatics, I Want to Go Outside in the Rain. I yelled out, "Man, shut the fuck up. Damn." He laughed. I could hear a few other convicts down the tier laughing as he continued singing. My blood boiled as I jumped off of the top bunk, landing on my 2 feet like a gymnast, spun around and punched him directly in his mouth. This stopped the rain from falling immediately as he tried to wobble himself up, which gave me enough time to kick him in his face once more. I got too close and he was able to grab my leg, pulling me towards him, and in one swift motion, he was on his feet. He grabbed me by my shoulders and threw me all the way across the cell. I bounced off of the wall and landed beside the toilet. He was out of breath and hurriedly reached for his asthma inhaler. I hit him with another 2-piece to the face, sliding the inhaler onto the tier. He grabbed me and we began tussling. "Calm down, homie. Calm down," he kept telling me while wheezing and struggling to breathe. "Calm your young ass down." Other convicts heard the commotion in the cells, so when they heard an officer's keys jingling down the tier, they started yelling, "Tier wet, tier wet," meaning an officer was coming. This caused him to ease up, allowing me some space. The officer looked into our cell and saw that he was struggling to breathe and his mouth was bleeding, so he called the goon squad. We both told him that we were playing, but they took us to the infirmary for a body inspection. He had bruises on his neck and face. I had scratches on my back, face, and shoulder. We convinced them that we were joking around and therefore were only given disciplinary reports for horseplaying. We didn't believe in police being in our business because as men we dealt with our problems amongst each other. We didn't form explanations or excuses to provide to our enemies. We kept the pigs at bay no matter the issue. We believed in the old cliche of deny, 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 even if caught red-handed. We denied we fought to the end with the understanding that it would be settled once we're in each other's vicinity again. It was none of the pigs' business. Once I was returned to the hole, my counselors informed me that since they didn't have a youth program anymore, it ended in the 70s, they were going to move me to Colorado since they had a youth program there and I was a Youth Act prisoner, which I wasn't. No one really knew what to do with me. They just wanted me off of their docket. I was a just turned 18-year-old DC prisoner in the federal system with violent convictions and was causing trouble. My new cellmate in the hole was one of the guys on the prison bus that also came from Talladega, Alabama. I called him Opalaka because he was from Opalaka, Florida. He had letters and pictures of one of the white girls in a convertible Mustang. He memorized the number and called her as soon as he got to the prison, and they had been corresponding ever since. They were planning on a visit. The next day, I was transferred. I was back on the bus filled with other convicts, all going to different prisons all over the country, driving through Oklahoma towards an airport. Once we got to the airport, the bus drove onto the tarmac. Parked there was a raggedy 1961 white Boeing 727 that the feds confiscated from a Colombian drug lord in the 70s. Hollywood referred to it as Con Air, but we called it the airlift. It held 345 prisoners. It was sitting on the tarmac surrounded by fully armed federal agents and 10 prison vans filled with convicts. Dozens of cuffed and shackled men and women slaves/POWs departed the plane in formation, then was held at gunpoint in a single file line while dozens of other cuffed and shackled slaves departed the vans and entered onto the plane, also in single file line. The ones that departed the plane got onto the vans, and the ones that departed the vans got onto the plane. The vans were headed to El Reno, and the plane was headed to Colorado, then to the West Coast. The choreography was precise. No other planes, cars, or vans were allowed in the vicinity. The agents were all in full military gear and held assault rifles and shotguns. Every step, from off the bus to onto the plane to before being seated, I was patted down and my cuffs and shackles were checked and sometimes re-secured. A lot of the prisoners were high-security drug lords from Colombia, Israel, America, the Middle East, and Europe. A few were spies, bank robbers, Russian, Albanian, and Sicilian mafia. Once on the plane, I was placed right up front behind the women prisoners because of my age and secured with a seatbelt. Older convicts on the plane began telling me that I needed to be careful. The feds were known to put troublemakers on diesel therapy. That is, you would essentially serve your time on buses and planes, constantly in transit. You would spend the night at a holdover, then in the morning you'd be placed back onto the bus to land in another state to spend the night there. Then in the morning you would be on another bus going to another holdover. They would do this to you for weeks or months. Your lawyer or family wouldn't be able to get in contact with you because you were always on the road. You wouldn't be able to use the phone or receive mail. The constant sitting on hard plastic seats while in chains would take a toll on your body. You would only eat bologna sandwiches twice a day for months. People on diesel therapy were usually malnourished and aged 5 to 10 years faster than normal.